A typhoon forms when a large area of ocean with a surface temperature of more than 26 degrees causes warm air to rise, and low-pressure winds bring in more air which also heats up as it rises. The hot air contains moisture evaporated from the ocean's surface. It cools as it rises and condenses to form clouds. The system of clouds and wind grows and spins faster until the whirling mass becomes a tropical storm. When wind speeds reach 119 kilometers per hour, the storm becomes a typhoon. Hong Kong's geographical location makes it prone to such storms, and throughout history, some have wreaked havoc in the city. One of the most vicious storms documented by the South China Morning Post was Typhoon Wanda, which hit Hong Kong on September 1, 1962. The headline in the next day's paper called it Hong Kong's Day of Terror. The storm caused widespread flooding, overturned cars in neighborhoods like Wan Chai, and destroyed vessels along the city's waterfront. A storm surge devastated Sha Tin district, where half the population reportedly had to take refuge in area hills. This photo shows workers hauling a boat back to sea after it was grounded outside a theater in Sha Tin. Reportedly, 437 people died in the storm, and 72,000 were left homeless. Nearly 9 years later, Typhoon Rose made landfall on Lantau Island, packing winds of 165 kilometers per hour. This storm was responsible for the worst maritime disaster Hong Kong has ever witnessed. A 2,600-ton passenger ferry, Fat Shan, had anchored at Ma Wan Island to shelter from the typhoon. But winds were so powerful they blew the vessel out towards Lantau and into 2 other boats before Fat Shan rolled onto its side and submerged. 88 of the 92 crew members on board were killed. Another 22 people also lost their lives in other parts of the city. Some 300 small boats were lost, and 30 ocean-going vessels were grounded or damaged. Typhoon Rose left more than 5,600 people homeless. On August 2, 1979, Typhoon Hope brought Hong Kong to a standstill, with public transport being suspended at the height of the storm. Still, this was the first time transport connections between Hong Kong Island and Kowloon remained in operation thanks to the Cross Harbour Tunnel that had opened 7 years earlier. Hope caused mudslides, downed power cables, and caused some homes to collapse. The Star Ferry Pier at Tsim Sha Tsui was left in ruins after a Greek freighter slammed into it as the vessel was blown ashore. A dozen deaths were recorded, far lower than previous typhoons that made direct hits on the city. As Hong Kong developed and infrastructure improved, the level of damage and casualties caused by typhoons were greatly reduced. Still, typhoons like Ellen in September 1983 took their toll. The storm spawned the second tornado ever recorded in Hong Kong, flattened several wooden huts in Sha Tin, and triggered floods that devastated farmland. Some 10,000 chickens and 2,300 pigs drowned. Ellen also uprooted 3/4 of the plants in Hong Kong's zoological and botanical gardens, including some trees that had stood for centuries. When Typhoon York hit in 1999, Hong Kong was a very different looking city. Packing winds gusting of up to 234 kilometers per hour, it smashed hundreds of windows in skyscrapers and sent a crane at a building site crashing down from 30 stories up. The most recent super typhoon to hit Hong Kong was Mangkhut on September 16, 2018. The Hong Kong Observatory said the storm was the most powerful since records were kept in 1946. Mangkhut brought wind gusts of 250 kilometers per hour and record storm surges of nearly 3.5 meters. Dramatic scenes like this were captured by residents on their mobile phones. In some areas, water came gushing into people's homes.
This one, we have the window. Yeah. Window. Holy cow!
Seaside communities like Shek O were devastated. The winds uprooted some 60,800 trees. About 400 people were injured in the storm, but fortunately most were not seriously hurt and no one in Hong Kong was killed. Over the decades, Hong Kong has evolved to become more equipped to deal with typhoons. But amid the uncertainty of climate change, there is always the threat that the next superstorm to hit the city could bring more disaster.